The ELD mandate, electronic logging devices, has been a hot topic, especially with livestock haulers concerned about rules limiting hours of service. We caught up with Senator Deb Fischer from Washington to ask her thoughts as she met this week with Nebraska farmers and ranchers about the topic. Livestock is different than hauling other kinds of things. It's different than hauling a truck full of widgets, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely it is. You know, when Secretary of Transportation Elaine Chao came to the state at my invitation, and I brought this up to her, our concern with the hours of service and how do you do it when you're hauling livestock. You know, first of all, if you do have to stop, where would you ever unload the cattle? And when you're looking at stress with livestock, to have them have to sit in a truck longer if you just pull over. So we've been on this for about a year and now trying to figure it out. We've established some lines of communication. This was a law that was passed. This is a rulemaking process. I don't know if we'll get any more extensions with it or not, but I think at least they're listening, and maybe we can get some exceptions for livestock. That's really necessary that we get those.
Because there was a waiver, I think it was a 90-day waiver put into effect right before Christmas, but we're looking at that expiring in about a month here.
Yeah. So I'd written a letter asking for a waiver. I've written a letter, asking for an extension of the comment period. Being able to sit down, as I said, with Nebraskans who could visit with the deputy administrator, it's always helpful to be able to establish those lines of communication, and hopefully we'll have a good outcome from those meetings.
And Senator, here in Nebraska, we recently retook the lead, #1 for cattle on feed. That means there's cattle coming into here from both coasts. That's a lot of cattle being hauled, and there's some unique concerns there, and I'm sure you want to provide some flexibility.
You know, when you look at the 150-mile radius, that's part of the rules right now that have come out. I mean, we talked about that. What is the source? Where do you start to measure the 150 air mile radius that you can travel? Just a basic question like that. Is it the first load you pick up? Is it the second? Is it the last load? The more we talk about it, the more I think confusing it is. I hope we can work with the FMCSA. My office has certainly taken a lead on that, and we're going to continue to talk to them and really push to see if we can get some things done.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for getting the word out on that. Like I said, I'm just really excited to have so much support here in the Senate from Republicans and Democrats, but great support across the state too.
Controversy surrounds a Kansas hog barn. NTV's Valerie Juarez reports.
Controversy stirring in one northern Kansas community. Many folks in the Almena area upset over a permit application for a proposed swine facility.
I'd like to extend you guys an invitation to go out and see in person the site that you guys are here to evaluate whether it deserves the permit is already almost done.
According to Julia Nelson, the livestock compliance manager for Nelson Farms, the company is looking to build new facilities after a large blaze destroyed their original one last June.
You know, the fire was not something we expected. The expansion was not something we expected. We've tried to kind of just take a bad situation that we were in and try to do our best to, take care of our people. And like I said, just, have a positive growth in our community.
According to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, the department has already approved Nelson Farms' permit application for the new hog facility. However, that does not mean approval of the official permit yet, which is why last Tuesday KDHE hosted a public hearing so the community could voice any of their concerns.
It's the fact that they're letting the owners subdivide the property by gifting or selling to a family member and creating two separate LLCs. What that does is it allows them to be closer to people's houses because they're going to have twice as many hogs in one unit. And that's the main thing that we're disputing here.
Many of those living in the area saying this new facility would create hazardous environmental issues.
This is a house owned by Rodney and Tonda Ross, and here is Road H, and here is one of the pivots that they are planning on and showing the permit and all their planning that they're going to put the wastewater on this. It is less than 200 feet from their residence.
But Julia Nelson says they're simply going by the books.
The land application, as long as we are staying, within what the state deems as appropriate, then, we can apply next to other individuals' fields, but there are many, like I said, they look at all of the slopes of all of the fields as far as, runoff control, and if that would ever be an issue, there's a lot of environmental steps that we go through to make sure that there's no runoff.
Casey saying opponents still see this as a dangerous issue that even those here in Nebraska could face.
The people from Nebraska might not think this bothers them at all. It doesn't bother them. Well, they might want to know that this South Canal that all this hog water is going to come out of the pivot into, it's going to have a lot of runoff that goes into the canal. That water from the South Canal, it flows into the Prairie Dog Creek, and that creek flows into the Republican River, and that river flows into the Harlan County Reservoir.
Julia says before they can even submit a permit application, they have engineers visit their site to give their input.
Then they check the groundwater, they check for slopes, and make sure that wherever we're putting this facility is environmentally safe.
KDHE says the department has 180 days from when they first receive the application to decide and approve the permit.
You can't make everyone happy. As long as you're staying, as long as you're following the rules and staying within the jurisdiction of what people, in those state and government positions have told you, then, to a degree, you can't make everyone happy.
Up next, a look at drought conditions.